Welcome to Doug's time travel adventure. Today, we're tackling why he left that mysterious voicemail for Claire. Why are Doug's fingerprints on Claire's fridge? Did he whip up a dinner and forget to clean up? Doug decided to head straight back to the studio. Little Mustache had already guessed his plan. He was curious about the wonders of live teleportation, so he told Doug to respect the time machine. After a few commands, Doug found himself 4 days back, watching a nurse resuscitate him, probably wondering, what's this guy up to now? When he realized he time traveled successfully, he panicked. There wasn't much time left before the explosion. He dashed outside and borrowed a gun from a security guard, then sped off in an ambulance. Calculating the time, Claire should still be safe, so Doug raced straight for the villain's lair. Meanwhile, the bad guy was pouring gas on Claire, and she instinctively fought back, not backing down. The villain touched his face, saw the red, and angrily turned to grab a tool, totally losing it. At that very moment, Doug swiftly burst through the door, fired several shots without hesitation, terrifying the bad guy, who immediately bolted away in a panic. But he also turned on the gas. Talk about taking explosive party to a whole new level. Doug abruptly snapped out of his daze, his gaze falling upon Claire lying on the ground with countless words welling up inside him, yet ultimately condensing into a single sentence, as he was all too aware that time was severely running out. He bravely lunged at Claire, only to be blown outside by a secondary explosion. It felt like a blockbuster. Doug successfully saved Claire, and their conversation started flipping the script. He explained to Claire that he was an undercover agent sent to track down Carol, the terrorist, hence his dramatic rescue. Claire shot him a skeptical look. Time travel. Really? You're joking, right? Doug knew time was tight, less than 2 hours before the villain blew the ferry, no time to waste. Back at Claire's place, he navigated it like it was his own home. Everything was just right. He told Claire to clean up while he handled his injuries, sneaking in some doodling on the side. Wiping the mirror, but those bloody cloths just landed in the sink like they were on holiday. Claire suddenly burst in with the gun, making him think I'm not the bad guy here. Claire couldn't believe Doug's identity claim. It all seemed absolutely too strange. With no other alternatives available, he instructed Claire to call his workplace and casually mentioned the number, which was 877 minus 504 minus 8,423. After the call, Claire urged Doug to stand up. She sensed he wasn't bad, but still felt weird about everything. Doug confidently approached her, slowly took the gun, then hugged her. Suddenly the mood shifted. Looking at the bloody cotton in the trash and the cup, he realized he had to take Claire with him. The phone rang. Doug stopped her from answering, realizing it was her friend Beth. He recited the message, and lo and behold, it sounded identical. This almost blew Claire's mind completely. After hanging up, she decided it was best to accompany Doug to the docks to take a look. Doug did this because he realized the reality was exactly the same as his memories. The past hadn't changed one bit. Saving Claire didn't guarantee her safety, so he had to keep her close for protection. At the docks, everyone was boarding, with each scene identical to 4 days ago, just like the prelude to a grand show. The bottom level housed all the vehicles. The two quickly spotted Claire's car, and everything seemed to be going smoothly. However, the rushing villain around the corner made Doug a little anxious. He pulled Claire close, hoping the villain wouldn't notice, then discreetly hinted to her, "Be careful. When the ship departs, tell the cops about the bomb." Meanwhile, he plotted to defuse it. The two split up. The villain had already landed, planning to hop on his bike, only to find the first SUV he ever stole waiting for him. This realization hit him hard. Doug didn't die, and he was right there at Durham docks. To ensure success, the villain dashed back to Durham, and tension filled the air. However, Doug was stopped by the staff, forced to navigate around to the passenger area. Claire spotted the returning villain, and her heart raced. For Doug's safety, she chose not to notify the police and instead jumped onto the Durham as the ship set sail. Doug found the equipment pipe on the ship, preparing for a return, but Claire bumped into the villain again. Faced with the gun-wielding villain who still held his weapon tightly, she had no alternative but to submit, and had even prepared herself for the ultimate sacrifice to guarantee the success of the explosion. The staff tried to reason with him, but the villain unleashed chaos, prompting Doug to dash outside. At the crucial moment when Doug was engaged in a fierce battle with the villain, he suddenly perceived that Claire had been tightly bound to the steering wheel, which caused a shock in his heart and made him realize the urgency of the situation even more intensely. Having interrogated the villain before, he used the same tone to confuse the current one. The villain wondered how Doug knew so much about him and why he was using those bizarre phrases. "Who are you?" I've never seen someone like this. Claire couldn't help but tease.